This month on Late Night Women's Hour, winter is coming. Without wishing to get too Game of Thrones about it, the nights are drawing in and so are more of us. Our subject this month is home. Are you creating a nest to hibernate for the winter? What does home mean to you? And why has the Scandinavian art of hygge become the word of the season? Genius marketing or emotional need? Joining me tonight, podcaster and crafter Helen Zaltzman. Hello, Helen.
Hello.
Rachel Hurdley, Research Fellow in the School of Social Science at Cardiff University. Welcome.
Hello.
Susie Orbach, psychotherapist and author. Hello to you.
Hello.
And Trina Harneman, chef and author. Welcome, Trina.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me all. So, hygge is the latest confusingly spelled domestic trend to hit the UK, imported from Scandinavia. You've probably seen it written down, and it's spelled Hygge. Should you wish to read about it further, you currently have over 100 volumes to choose from on one popular book website. There's hygge home decor, hygge food, hygge parenting, even a hygge colouring book, which I presume you have to do by a fire wearing a pair of cosy socks. Trina, tell me about this word, hygge. We keep being told that it's untranslatable. Can you have a go for us as a Dane?
The hygge, I think it's true in a way, because when you have a word that is so absorbed in your culture and your daily life, it's kind of odd to have to translate it all of a sudden to the whole world. So I think that's where the Danes are right now. We're a bit in shock. What is this about? Why? What's going on?
Everybody's asking.
Yes. And it's a word we use all the time.
Okay.
Every day, for a lot of situations. It is a bit more than coziness, because it is such a part of the way we live.
So it's fundamental to Danish culture, and it is in all of the aspects. Can you give me some examples? Like, what can be hygge? Obviously, we know that kind of food and an atmosphere and in a place can be hygge. What about people? Can they be hygge?
Yeah, if they're in a certain mood, they can, but they can also not be. But hygge is about setting the stage of how things should be.
Okay.
It's a social norm. It's a convention. So therefore, it's more than coziness. So it also has some negative sides to it. It's not only getting together, and hygge is all year round. It's not only in the winter, but of course, when it's translated, it seemed like to be the thing with the candle and the food and the hot chocolate and all these, lovely things that we all want in our lives. But it is a way of setting the tone of being together, of hanging out. And Danes are very much into have some pleasant kind of togetherness, if you could say, every day.
But can I ask, if you say you use the word several times a day, would you apply it to a sensibility, a person, beyond an atmosphere? How do you get to say it 5 times a day?
Because you say it like, you say, that was very hyggelig. Mm-hmm. And that was a hyggelig time. He was a hyggelig person. You could say that, but you wouldn't say that as much.
Okay, that would be more unusual.
No, not really. But to be a hyggelig person is something. That's a hyggelig person. That's something. He's like, if I think about a hyggelig man, he would be kind of a little bit big. He would feel safe. He would feel somebody you'd trust. It's like.
It's so interesting. Trina, your book is about hygge, but it's mainly a cookbook, and
Yes.
it's about comfort eating and Danish comfort food. To what extent is food a part of hygge?
Danes never get together without, eating and drinking something. Coffee is our main thing, but of course alcohol comes into it at some point. When you meet a Dane, that will not ask you how you are. We don't. When we start to travel the world, we are always very confused when people ask you how you are, because we will actually answer, and that's the wrong thing to do. So what we would say is, "Hi, please come in. Would you like a cup of coffee?" Our first greeting will be to invite you to enjoy something with us.
Okay, so there's a very big social element to all
Yes.
this then. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is also about leveling us out. It has a very egalitarian thing to it.
Okay.
Danes is not very big on hierarchy. We're very big of making sure we're all at the same, level. We don't really like people to stick out. So therefore, hygge is also like the social norm that set the stage for now we're all sitting here being equal, having a great time.
It's like a socialist coziness.
Yeah.
There were a lot of jumpers. There are a lot of jumpers in that particular political nook, as far as I'm aware, Helen.
No wonder it's popular.
Now,
Is it actually inclusive? Because the sense I get is that it can be a bit exclusionary. You know, you're with old friends or you're with family, because the whole idea is that being comfortable, being familiar. Would you invite a stranger in? Could you, as a stranger, kind of feel hyggelik?
Yeah, I think you could. That's a very interesting question in the sense that Danes are not very good at inviting strangers in. It takes a long time to get really close, I think, to Danes. But if you do, it's for life.
Once you're in, you're in. So, Rachel, you're asking there about something that you've written about, I think, is the Scandinavian dream.
What I have written about is, I suppose, the ubiquitousness of IKEA in people's homes, and how somehow IKEA and Scandinavia, and then that's kind of extended vaguely into ideas of Danishness and now hygge, how British culture, you know, it sort of started off quite simply with a couple of tea lights on the mantelpiece, and now it seems to be kind of expanding into this vague, you know, all we know about Scandinavia is that it's kind of a bit north of Germany and it's not France. And we're kind of going into Tiger now, the Danish, well, we call it the Danish pound shop, but it's far more than a Danish pound shop. And the way in which British culture, we're kind of going out and getting all these bits and bobs of the Scandinavian
So the
dream.
accoutrement of this kind of imagined lifestyle. What is the appeal, do you think? Susie Orbach, I mean, the lure of the domestic here is very strong, obviously. What are we looking for? What are we searching for?
In a way, we're in a period that's a bit like the 50s. It's a kind of retrenchment of the home or the domestic and of femininity in a particular form, at a moment when we've actually got a world crisis going on, and which we're encouraged to see the outside as incredibly dangerous and rather insecure. And so we've got both the democratization of we can all have the glamorous house, we can create an internal house that looks like it's for display, that we then move into so we feel like a proper person and we feel like a sophisticated in this world that's so damn confusing.
Okay, so it kind of exists in opposition to a wider context of...
Which we're both part of, but we're also individualising, except we're actually, with the mass marketing of design, which is no bad thing, but we're all at the same time curating ourselves in the same way, if you like.
So curating ourselves.
Yes,
this is the key word, isn't it? And it's digital culture is a big part of this, because I wanted to do this programme initially. I had a conversation with a writer recently, and he was talking about hygge and the trends, the trend for hygge kind of coming to the UK, and he sees it as a reaction to digital culture. And
but it isn't, isn't it? Because at the same time, when you're preparing your food, you take a snapshot. I don't think it's called a snapshot anymore, but you take a photo, you might not put it on Instagram, but you might say to your friend, look how gorgeous. So that even you yourself are engaging in the act of showing and of displaying, and displaying actually to yourself as much as to anyone else. So that is digital. So it's both playing with digital culture and trying to manage something that's particularly personal and intimate.
It's very interesting, isn't it? It's almost a Zen meditation as well. Like if you craft something or make something without Instagramming it, does it exist? It's the kind of new tree falling in the woods.
Helen unexamined life is not worth living, but it's a public examination.
Helen Saltzman, you are a crafter. What do you craft?
Things that I don't know how to make, I suppose. I think that's what's interesting to me. At the moment, my time's very limited for doing anything fun, which is annoying. So usually I craft things if someone needs an unusual item they can't buy.
Such as, come on.
My brother needed some dolls of the cricketers W.G. Grace and Frank Spofford. And you can't buy those in the toy shops, it seems.
Inexplicably.
I know.
Hard to find.
And also, there's not really a pattern for either of those cricketers online.
Those particular cricketing dolls.
No. So I thought, well, only one way to figure this out. is to
What
jump right in there.
materials did you use?
Well, I used an old sheet for the cricket whites. I made a nice moss stitch beard for WG. They had felt faces. I think the hats were probably felt as well. One of them was known for being very smart. Fred Spofford. I learnt a lot as well whilst making him. He was a very dapper Australian cricketer, and so he always used